that it actually was worn out. So they took these worn out weapons to a gunsmith and said, you know, hey, true this up. And so the 44 became a 45, and the 36 became a 38. So the reason that we have 38s and 45s today is because he said, well,
in school, he was well respected amongst other doctors. But within a year or so of him being picked to be Surgeon General, people were crying for him to be drummed out of the service, and he was. He was court-martialed, and he was kicked out of the service. And all that he had done was to suggest, he went farther than suggesting, that mercury was not a good medicine to be giving to the troops. And he had taken steps to make sure that the Union armies did not give mercury to soldiers. Now, mercury, as we know, is toxic now. And I think that Hammond realized that it was toxic. Nobody else realized.
Make sure the light didn't get in, and he would have to do everything by feel.
First rails up, and I'm ready to start. We're going to put wrought iron balusters up. So I'm ready enough, seen enough videos on YouTube about to. I'm ready to make the first grill. Because when you got a piece of wood that costs you almost $50, so I'm being very, very, very careful.
You said you flips it, and you see it upside down on the back of your eyes, but your brain says it's not. Modern cameras have those two mirrors in them, and that flips the image right side up.
Okay.
Could you buy one of those, or you make them?
Well, Mr. Reed made that one, which is a studio camera, and we bought this one from a friend of ours up in New Jersey that makes these kind that have the bellows on them.
Now, what
My parents
did
live
the bellows consist? I mean,
Oh,
what
well,
is the purpose of that?
The way you focus is by loosening this and moving the focusing glass away from your lens. So it the farther away we are, the farther back. No, the closer. It's opposite.
The closer it is, the further you can see.
So if I were focusing over there on the lake, it would be closer up.
Did you get a picture of the front?
Sort them, and then they'd soak them overnight.
Like that in a big pot of water like that?
Not necessarily hot though, and then they boiled them the next day.
And then they take it and put it in tea water?
Yes. You can put that in there if you want.
Well, I call it tea water.
Just move it slow.
What was their term for calling it?
Bleaching,
Bleaching?
I guess.
And then after they bleached it,
That's when they'd wash it.
that's when they'd wash it in that water.
They'd wash it, and do spot removal and things like that, and then they'd rinse. That shirt these things didn't have any spots, so we went to the rinse. Because I put some soap in that earlier.
They have blood on those shorts.
They
Yeah,
did.
those also have blood on them.
And we use lemon juice or vinegar to get rid of the blood stains. So this has some spots on it. I think it's rust from the pot. So we're going to give it a scrub on the washboard. Where'd they go? So I have my soap. This is cold water. There's one.
Would they change that water occasionally?
Yep. They definitely will.
Would they put warm water?
That's true. This was about lukewarm. Day for them. So find my rust spots.
Imagine if you want to stay in the house or in the tent, wouldn't you?
I swear I saw spots. But I'd wash it, and then the officers would usually pay extra to get starched and ironed. Because that was a hassle. And you can see we're warming up the irons in a skillet.
Did you spend the night?
Yes.
How was it?
There since Thursday.
Well, I slept warm until I got out, and then after that I froze.
Oh.
But what I do is we tie up the tent flaps, and we'll let a candle burn in there for a little while, and it'll get it warm.
Just that little bitty candle that's in there?
Well, it's burnt down some. I got to put
And it got you warm enough.
It'll warm up the tent.
That sounds like
Wow.
Flats, what used to be, what's now known as Gatlinburg, I believe. That's what they call it now. It used to be called White Oak Flats. But, yeah, all the comforts of home right here. Everything you need.
on your wrist.
So if you're because you use this really only when you're on the back of the horse. So what happens if it falls out on the back of the horse and you're in a cavalry fight and it gets knocked out of your hand? Guess what?
You don't lose your weapon.
It stays attached to your hand. Look at Romans, because they always carry that. Because most people are right-hand dominant. You draw it across your body, so it's always worn on the left side, and you draw with your right hand. Revolver's right there. Sword, I don't have it on the hangers, but it would be hanging there.
Yeah, they do.
I guess.
They're calling.
I haven't seen it, but I guess they put that bathroom.
And the thought being among the cavalrymen by the time they have pistols is that it takes a lot more dexterity to use a sword than it does a pistol. So the thought being you still draw the sword with the right hand, draw the revolver with the left. But I have no doubt that a lot of guys, when they got into the fight, switched it over.
I wouldn't.
You a lefty? Yeah. You became a righty when you got in the Army, though. Yeah. You didn't have a choice about it. This whole area was covered with buildings of some type or another. You not only had the huts that were built for the soldiers to live in, they also built kind of more traditional barracks that would house a whole company of men, 2-story, half the men on the bottom floor, half the men on the top floor, with offices on either end or quarters for the non-commissioned officers and for the lieutenants. Captain had a room kind of to himself, but they also built within this space warehouses, clothing depots. This place had a fully operational sawmill. They had a turntable to turn the trains around down here. There was out underwater now, but right out there was a huge horse corral. It was a major operation. I mean, it was unlike really any other operation.
Is this the original train bed?
It is.
And of course, then it turned around down here, I take it, for the engines?
Right.
The roadway down here. I don't know if y'all probably come in from off the main highway. But
on my hip, that is a Star revolver. It was about the 4th most commonly purchased by Army contract during the war.
We need to make a little fireplace. Tell you what, getting the draw right can be troublesome.
Oh, is that right?
Oh yeah. If not, you smoke yourself out. These actually draw pretty good because it's deep enough that it gets the draw. But
okay, you got to dig a hole there.
Yeah, and there's also the issue of how tall is the chimney. If it's too short,
the chimney's not very tall.
It's not going to draw it out very well. I've learned it's very complicated.
Single shot.
And then the weapon beside it is the Smith carbine.
7 shots.
Is it what now?
Smith carbine. And it is a breech loader.
Single shot.
Single shot,
yeah.
Not a repeater.
Yeah.
But it had a unique cartridge. It used a hard rubber casing. Had a charger powder in it and the lead bullet.
And it's what caliber?
50.
50? That's a bad gun.
Well, you've got 50 caliber Smith, 58 caliber Springfield, and then the Spencer was 5650.
And gun of choice would have been that one, right?
If you were a wise man and you could pick which gun you got to carry, this is the one you'd want. Yeah.
7 versus 1. And this one is fast, but it can get gummed up and be slow to remove that spent cartridge.
What's that gun worth nowadays?
And this is 1 and it's slow.
What's that gun worth nowadays?
An original? Yeah. Now, these are all reproductions.
Are they reproductions?
Yeah.
But even reproduction weapons have gone kind of through the roof recently.
Yeah.
When I bought that weapon in 1993, you could buy them all day long for about $500.
Wow.
Buy one new today from Dixie Gun Works, it'll run you about $1,100.